Story time about why I beat up my best friend. So a little background information. Her and I had been best friends since we were in 7th grade. Her family was rich, mine was poor, and at first she was a really good friend. She was always there for me whenever I needed her, until our freshman year of high school, which is when her and I started hanging out with boys. Now, my mom was kind of strict. She wouldn't really let me hang out with boys, but her mom was more lenient about her hanging out with boys. Every weekend she would throw a party at her house, and she would throw them in her attic because one, it was huge, and two, her parents didn't give a fuck what she did up there. Anyways, she would always offer to do my hair and makeup before the party started, which always made me really excited because I never really put any work into my physical appearance. Well, little did I know, the only reason why she would offer to do my hair and makeup at these parties was so that way she could make me look like shit in front of all the boys. So after that, I taught myself how to do my own makeup and do my own hair, like for part 2. Part 2 about why I beat up my best friend. So like I said, I learned how to do my hair and makeup, and she went on vacation for like a month straight. Well, when she came home, she threw another party, and she was like, don't worry, after I'm done getting ready, I'll do your makeup and do your hair. And I was like, no, it's fine, I got it. She literally looks at me and she goes, are you sure? You don't really know how to do that. Like, it'll probably look really bad. And I'm like, why the fuck would you say that? She goes, no, like, I don't mean it to be rude. It's just that, like, I want you to look good in front of the boys and stuff like that. Like, sis tried to talk me into getting a shower for a full, like, 20 minutes. So after that, the whole night, she's literally being a pick-me girl. She's making all these comments about me in front of the boys, and I just keep brushing them off until her next party. We got ready, and I put on these expensive shoes that I had just bought, and she goes, wow, you just, like, really like to copy my style, don't you? So she starts making comments that whole night about how my family's poor and stuff like that, and she threw up all over my shoes. So I dumped the trash can that everybody had threw up in that night on her, punched her in the face, but like 2 months later, she came to my house and apologized. Story time about how I was groomed for almost 2 years and didn't even know it. So a little background information. When I was 15, my house burnt down, and I went into a little bit of a depression. So after losing everything, my 6 siblings and I had to move into a 3-bedroom place with my grandparents. And a month or so later, I was looking for friends. Someone to talk to, or pretty much anything that would just make me feel better. Well, this guy messaged me, and he said, you're pretty as shit. And I'm 15, so a bitch was excited. Well, 2 weeks later, I asked my mom if I could go over my friend Samantha's. And of course she said yes, because I had stayed with Samantha a lot during this time. Also because there was barely room for any of us in this 3-bedroom house. So a little background information on my parents. My mom had been a police officer for 12 years. Sadly, she had to retire because of a neck surgery. My ex-stepdad was and still is a police officer today. Anyway, so my mom asked for pictures whenever I went over Samantha's to make sure I was really there. Like for part 2. Story time about how I was groomed for almost 2 years and didn't even know. So like I said, my mom used to ask for pictures to make sure that I was really at Samantha's house. Well, Samantha lived about 10 minutes away from the guy that I was talking to. Every time that I went to her house, I would leave at about 8 p.m. and go over to his house. And he was 26 years old. And obviously I knew my parents would freak the fuck out if they found out. And we had planned to keep this a secret until I turned 18. So that way my parents couldn't tell me that I wasn't allowed to be with him. So flash forward to about 3 days before I turned 18. My mom comes into my work. She walks up to me, shows me a picture of him, and says, who the hell is this? So of course I say I have no idea who the hell she's talking about. She said okay and then left. Well, as soon as I got home, her and my dad were sitting in the living room, waiting for me to explain who that man was. So I told them everything. They decided not to take legal action, but my mom explained to me that I was so young and he took advantage of me and stuff like that, so I never saw him again.
Story time on how my boyfriend tried to do the nasty with my dog. Okay, so boom, we about to jump right in. So I had a really good boyfriend, and every day after school, he came over to my place. Both my parents worked till late, so we had a lot of time to just have fun. So my dog was a big white Samoyed, and he was obsessed with her. This was kind of a red flag, but I ignored it because, I mean, it's a dog. We dated for 2 months and things just kept getting weird. Second red flag, he paid less and less attention to me when he was over and more to my dog. So one day while he ignored me and played with my dog again, I got a phone call from my teacher. My teacher told me that I had to go to school right this second. I was really confused, but I obviously still went. Even though it was a Saturday, it ended up being a prank, but whatever, just push that to the side for now. I trusted my boyfriend with my dog and to stay home alone, and I went to the school. And this was a big mistake because my boyfriend did the unthinkable. Like for part 2. Part 2 on how my boyfriend tried to do the nasty with my dog. Okay, so boom, like I said, I left my boyfriend home alone with my dog and I went to go to the school. The school was actually really close to me, so it really wasn't going to take me that long anyways. When I arrived to the school, there was no one there, all the teachers were gone, and the school was locked. It ended up being a stupid prank by my friend, getting me back for when I pranked her. But whatever, I went back home. And I'm sure my boyfriend didn't expect me to come back so quickly. So I went back and I didn't see my boyfriend or my dog in the garden. And the house was empty. At first I thought he kidnapped her, but then I started hearing noises coming from my dog from the basement. I opened the basement door and there it was. My boyfriend pants down trying to do with my dog. My dog ran to me and I locked my boyfriend in the basement. My parents immediately came home and my ex got grounded for life. I don't know what else happened to that weirdo, but now I'm dating his ex-best friend and we're happy and normal. Story time on how I was kidnapped by my insane dad. Okay, so boom. This all began at the time when I was 8 years old. So my teacher was off for whatever reason, so we had a substitute teacher. The substitute teacher ended up being my dad, but I didn't know he was my dad at the time. But I always had a bad feeling when I was by him. One day after class, my dad asked me to stay to talk to him. But because I always had a bad feeling about him, I just made up an excuse and told him that I couldn't stay after class. And even when I gave him that excuse, he told me just give him a second, but again, he was weird. So I got the fuck out of there. Anyways, the next day at school, we had free time and the whole time he was staring at me. It was actually almost my birthday and I was passing out invitations to my classmates. Well, somehow he got a hold of one of my invitations. My birthday went by and everything was fine until the next day. It was Sunday and my mom was at work and I was babysitting my 2 little sisters. And this is where it gets scary. Like for Part 2 on how I was kidnapped by my insane dad. Okay, so boom, like I said, it was Sunday and my mom was at work and I was babysitting my 2 little sisters. When I went to go get my sisters a snack, I heard something. I got scared and I immediately called my mom on our emergency phone. She looked at the cameras and there was nothing there, but I kept on hearing something. So I took my mom's old flip phone and I grabbed my 2 little sisters. I brought them to my room in our secret crawl place and I gave my older little sister the flip phone. I told my little sister to stay there and to not come out until I come back. And that if I didn't come back, to call the police and stay hidden until the police came. I grabbed my bat and went downstairs and guess who it was? My insane dad. So that's when he told me that he was my dad and that he had proof. So I went with him to get him away from my little sisters and that's when he threw me into his truck. I texted my sister the signal before he took my phone. Like for part 3. Part 3 on how I was kidnapped by my insane dad. Okay, so boom, like I said, my dad threw me into his truck. I was able to text my little sister to signal for help before he took my phone. About 20 minutes later, he stopped at a hotel. He again told me that I was his and that's why he would stare at me so much because he had to make sure. And then he said he had to make sure that I was his sacrifice, but I didn't understand what he was talking about. He was being very creepy. I ended up staying there with him for 6 days where he was burning me with cigarettes and he was abusing me every day. But thank God on the 6th day, the police was finally able to track me down. They were finally able to locate me and find me, and thank God they did because my dad was actually planning on RIPing me. I ran to my mom, cried, told her I loved her, but I also told her that I did it to keep my sisters safe. Now he's in jail for 10 years and he can't come within 100 feet of me or my family. My family moved to Florida with my stepdad and now I'm expecting my little brother. Trust your instincts, guys.
This is why you should never trust your friend if they tell you that their pet don't bite. Charla Nash would go over to her friend's house, Sandra, every now and then to watch over her 200-pound chimpanzee. Charla knew straight off the bat that she did not like that chimpanzee because it always scared her. There was even a time where the chimpanzee jumped on Charla's back and ripped out a chunk of her hair. Charla started crying, but her friend Sandra thought it was funny. Sandra would not be laughing at anything that chimpanzee did much longer after this day. One day, Charla gets a call from Sandra saying her chimpanzee wouldn't go back in the cage and she needed some help. help. Charla drove over there to help her friend, and immediately after, Sandra would have to call the police. By the time the police arrived, Charla was laying on the ground with half of her face eaten off, no jaw, her nose hanging from her face by a piece of her skin, and with both of her hands ripped off. This is what Charla looked like before her attack. Her entire face was mutilated after the attack, but since the photos are super graphic, they'll be posted on my Instagram story. Part 2 will include the unsettling phone call Sandra made to the police and how she described her friend getting eaten and ripped apart. This is going to be part 2 of why you should never trust your friend if they tell you that their pet don't bite. Sandra never imagined that after she called her friend over to help her put her 200-pound chimpanzee back in his cage, since he wouldn't go in, she would have to make a phone call to the police and report how her chimpanzee ate her friend alive. This is the audio clip.
Please!
What's the problem with your friend? I need to know.
Let the police up! With a gun! With a gun! Hurry
Who
up!
has a gun?
Please, hurry up! He's killing my girlfriend!
What is the problem?
He's killing my friend!
Who's killing your friend?
My chimpanzee!
Oh, your chimpanzee is killing your friend.
He ripped her apart! Hurry up! Kid, she's dead. She's dead.
Why are you saying that she's dead?
She's dead. He ripped her apart.
Charla actually ended up surviving. She was rushed to the hospital where they said she looked like she had gone through a meat grinder. Charla is very lucky to still be with us today. The most recent update about Charla is in her interview with Oprah that I have linked in my Instagram story. This is going to be a quick story time of how my parents found my OnlyFans. So I had just recently broken up with my boyfriend, and my friends were trying to find ways to make me feel better. They were trying to tell me to go on Tinder and all these other dating apps to find a new man. I didn't want to find a new man more than I wanted to make him jealous. And so my friends were telling me a good way to get back at him is to post myself with another man. But I had a better idea. I was going to make an OnlyFans, and I was going to tell his friends about it and let them subscribe for free. And it did work. He sent me a big paragraph going off on me about it. I thought it was really funny, but anyways. So I had left one night with my friends, they were just trying to take me out and make me feel a little bit better, just to try to make me feel better and get the recent breakup off my head. And I was living at home at the time. I had just turned 18. My parents were really strict and they didn't even know that I had a boyfriend. So while I'm out with my friends, I get a text message from my mom telling me to get home now. I'm asking her what's going on and she's telling me that I just need to get home because we need to talk. And so once I get home, I open the front door. I walk into the living room and my ass was spread open right on the TV screen. So this is going to be part 2 of how my parents found my OnlyFans. So I get home from hanging out with my friends and I see my OnlyFans on the TV screen. My mom is acting like she just saw the Holy Ghost. My dad is shaking his head, just mad disappointed. For some reason, my little brother was sitting over there on the couch. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? What is this? Why would you put it on the TV? Our TV was a smart touchscreen TV and you could connect your phone to the TV, but I didn't understand why it was on the TV screen with my little brother right there. So my mom's yelling at me like, so is this what we are? Is this what we do? And she's telling me if I'm going to be acting grown, then I'm gonna have to find a different place to stay because I'm not about to represent our family like this. So I told her that it was just a quick way for me to make money, and she told me that I was lying. And then she proceeded to show me a text message that she got from my boyfriend telling her that I had let his friends subscribe for free and that I was going down the deep end and I need to be talked to. I don't know if I said ex-boyfriend or not, but it was my ex-boyfriend who had sent her that text. So I told him that I would delete my OnlyFans, and this is what I said to my ex-boyfriend like for part 3. So this is going to be part 3 of how my parents found my OnlyFans. So it was my ex-boyfriend who had told my parents about my OnlyFans. So I decided that I was going to message him. I basically went off on him and I told him, why the fuck would you show my parents my OnlyFans? Why did you feel the need to do that? You're just jealous, yada, yada, yada. And he told me that it's because he doesn't want me to represent myself that way. But I know it's more of the fact that his friends were subscribed to me and he wanted me to just take it down. And I told him that we weren't in a relationship anymore, so his opinion didn't matter. I removed him off everything and he still found ways to text me. He even eventually started to email me, and now he was telling me that he missed me and that he wanted another chance. And I'm like, dude, no, you almost got me kicked out. From that point on, my parents never helped me out with anything ever again. I had to start paying everything by myself. And throughout the relationship with my boyfriend, he would basically do everything for me. And so I decided to get back with him. Eventually, he got his own apartment, and so I moved out of my parents' house and moved in with him. And then me and him made an OnlyFans together. My parents found out about that too, but there was nothing that